This is Worldwide Flava Network. Coast to coast and worldwide.
The views, information, or opinions expressed on the broadcast of Worldwide Flava Network are solely those of the individuals involved and does not represent those of Worldwide Flava Network and Live365.com. Worldwide Flava Network is not responsible and does not verify for accuracy of the information contained on any live or recorded broadcast available for listening on the site.
Hey, you guys, this is Anika from Anika Tells All.
Tune in every Thursday from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Worldwide Flava Network. See you then.
Hi, this is Tony Reed, your fitness trainer, health coach, and now life changer at Worldwide Flava Network every Wednesday night from 7:30 to 8:30. Join us and change your life in 1 hour.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Shout, also known as Color Beauty. Join me on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. on WWFN Online Radio. When 2 minutes is not enough, we go into overtime. See you then.
Tune in with Diva Talk, Real Talk with Diva May every Sunday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Worldwide Flava Network. See you next Sunday.
It's your girl, A. Michelle. Join us on Sundays from 10 until 12 noon for the Baltimore Flava Gospel Show on Worldwide Flava Network. This show is being sponsored by Worldwide Flava Network to have your own radio show. Come and join us here on WWFN Online Radio. Contact us via our web www.worldwideflavanetwork.com.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Wake me up this morning. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Help me start my day. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. New heights I'm gaining. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Always make a way. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Praise are the greatest. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Calvary praise. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Each and every day. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. It's time to wake up now. The sun's shining bright. The darkest times in my life, I can see the light. When I'm feeling weak, His strength makes me strong. Whatever makes me happy makes me feel complete. Feeling so much better. It's time to come together. When I hear this sound, first thing I do in the morning. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Wake me up this morning. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Help me start my day. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. New heights I'm gaining. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Always make a way. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Praise are the greatest. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Calvary praise. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Each and every day. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Yeah. It's your girl, Miss Lady. Every day I have to thank the Lord for everything that you've done for me. Made a way out of no way. That's how I know He's there for me. From sun up to sun down, I know He's around, watching over me, giving me a clear view so I can see. That is why I can say thank you, Lord, each and every day. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Wake me up this morning. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Help me start my day. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. New heights I'm gaining. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Always make a way. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Praise are the greatest. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Calvary praise. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Each and every day. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. No one can come in between this happiness I have. Through all the pain and sorrow, I still see tomorrow. If your heart is heavy, He'll give you strength to go on. Nothing is worrying me, 'cause I'm free. Now that we're here as one, it's time to have some fun. Now first thing I do in the morning, thank you, Lord, 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 thank you, Lord. The essence of this is real. I thank God each and every day, and I would like to thank all of my family and friends for the love and support. Sherelle, Miss Lady, loves you guys.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's your girl A Michelle here on the Baltimore Flavor Gospel Show, and I am just so grateful to be alive. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. What a wonderful and awesome morning it has been already this morning. Taking the hard road, your faith taking you the hard road, and that's what the word was this morning. I thank God for that word on this morning because that hard road is where your faith is really been put to. If it hasn't been put to the test, it surely will put you to the test and help you see that you are stronger than you sometimes may even think that you are. I am just so everly grateful to be here in the studio. I had a wonderful weekend, wonderful, wonderful weekend. You know, I still have my logo up on there and I will keep that up there today, and that is for Hands Across Baltimore. So excited. We had such a wonderful, wonderful time on yesterday, on the corner of North Avenue and Milton and Gay Street and Bel Air Road. That's where we were. And we just hung out and had a wonderful time. We want to thank Val Jenkins and her team. And we just want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting our corner, but every corner that was supported from North Avenue and Hilton all the way down to North Avenue and Milton. Every corner that that was assigned. We want to thank you for all that you've done and all the support. We want to thank all of our clergy and chaplains and all those who came out and supported the different corners. And we want to thank our political arena as well for all that they've done. And also can't leave out oh gosh, what's the name of the group? I can't even think. Oh my goodness. Ceasefire group. I'm sorry. My mind this morning. I got so much on my mind this morning. And so Ceasefire, we want to thank them as well. This is their celebration weekend as well. And it's 2 years coming up for Hug Don't Shoot. Wow, that 2 years went by really fast. I just remember when all that just took place and when it originally happened. So it's just grateful to be a part of all of that. And we just had a great time on yesterday. All the new people I met and connections I made and talking to other shows. And our show host came out. Thank you all for those who were able to come to our actual corner because we had show hosts on other corners. So we all couldn't be at one location, but I'm just so grateful. We had such a wonderful day. The weather held up. I was praying for that because them clouds was trying to, start coming over. And I was like, mm-mm. But we are so grateful. We gave out care packages down on North Avenue in Milton. And we just had a great, great time fellowshipping. The prayer warriors, I thank you guys because it wasn't just one person. We had several prayer warriors that prayed. And we just want God to do what he has to do in spite of all is what's being said and has been done out here in our community. We know that he can change everything and he has purpose. And while all of this has happened, why it had to go the way that it did, I can't tell you, but I can assure you he has purpose in it all and where he's taken Baltimore and all these other states. My condolences go out to the 4-year-old family. It's such a sad situation. It was a very hurtful situation. But we know that God is able and we know that he's with him in spite of all and how it all happened. So we're just praying for the family, no matter how it happened. It's not a pretty picture. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not a pretty picture, but I can assure you that we have a comforter like no other. And we just pray that God will heal all those who are a part of the family and those who are not, because it hit a lot of us really hard. Um, it really hit a lot of us really hard when we heard of the news. So trust and believe. I am so grateful that he has been found, unfortunately, due to his demise. They've located him and everything, but we're just asking that God will continue to do. Also, we want to send our deepest condolences to Texas as well as Ohio. I'm not sure if you guys have watched the news, but these last few hours, because it's been just what, since yesterday and today, between yesterday and today, we've had several situations where there has been gunfire and lives taken. And Texas and Ohio, my prayers go out to those families, because that to go to the market and not come home, that's devastating for any family. You just can't stop your life, but it's just the thought that the person went to the market, went to the store, and not coming home to your family is very hurtful. So we're just praying for all those families that are out there who are dealing with this. Um, we praying for our own city, because we've had a lot of tragedy here, a lot of tragedy here in Baltimore. And so we'll continue to pray for all the cities, not just Baltimore and Ohio and Texas, but all around the world right now. We just want to just continue to ask God to do what he does best. We know that he makes no mistake in what he does and how he does it. Sometimes we want to question the why he does it, but understand he may reveal the why sometimes, and sometimes he may not. So we have to just accept and allow him to do what he does. And we know what he does best is blessing us tremendously. And so, again, we had such a wonderful weekend here in Baltimore, in spite of all the shadowing of things that we had going on in the negative sense. We had a lot of positive going on this weekend. And so between the ceasefire and Hug Don't Shoot, Hands Across Baltimore, and all the other activities that were locally here in Baltimore, we just glad that people were able to have good, safe fun, because we had a lot of festivals going on this weekend. And from what I have heard so far, there's been nothing that was anything of any tragics in this Baltimore area. So I'm grateful that we had a wonderful weekend, and we're going to continue to have a wonderful weekend. And as the days move ahead, God will continue to move as he has always in the arena that he has to as it relates to our city. Today, I am just so elated and so honored that this woman of God could find time in her schedule to come and share with me. When I saw the title of her book, it just blew my mind. It literally blew my mind. And I am just grateful that you could come and share with us, Lady Yvette Bannister. Um, I am just I am humbly grateful that you could come. I truly am. Because like I said, when I saw the title, Lord, save me from me before I self destruct. This book, I haven't even read it, but I'm just reading the title. That's kind of like some words I said some years ago. I ain't say it quite in that direction, that format, but I know I said some words in that context somewhat. And so I just want to say good morning. Thank you for joining. How are you this morning? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am honored. I am truly honored. Those of you who are on Facebook and Periscope and YouTube, if you could please share, we want to definitely get her out here. We want you to enjoy this conversation that we're going to have, and we want you to be able to order the book and all that good stuff and share with your family and friends because with a title like this has to have some real substance and some purpose in it, and that may not be just for you. It may not even be for you at all, but it could be for someone that is connected to you. And so we want you to be involved in this conversation. So let's first, before we even get to the book, we want to get to know who this lady Yvette Bannister is. Who is she? Because I didn't know her before I found her on Facebook, and I've been following you. When the book came out, I was like, okay, I got to get her on here. Just got to work it all out some kind of way. And so, who is she?
I am Yvette Bannister.
Okay.
That's who I am.
Okay.
I'm Yvette Bannister. Many people place the word lady in front of their name because of maybe they've been married to a pastor and things of that sort, which I was married to a pastor. And so, you get the title First Lady. But my nickname is Girly.
Okay. Okay.
And so
okay, girly, because that's the name I give all most of my girlfriends.
Yeah,
So
girly,
like
girly.
you'll see sometimes I may post something, say, hey girly, or I may when I inbox or text people, I'll say my personal friends, I normally say, hey girly. And then if it's somebody even if I don't quite know them that well, but I feel like there's a good connection, I'll find myself saying, hey girly, how you doing? Those type things. So that's my word. I like girly.
Yep. So my nickname is Girly. So what I did was I took the scripture that says, "When I was a child, I act like a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things."
Okay.
And so I just placed "lady" in front of it, and so here I am today.
Okay. So, you say this is who you are. So your walk, whether your life journey, what prompted you to take the journey in which you did? Some things happen. We know that circumstances cause us, and sometimes it's just hey, you just took a different outlook. What was yours? Was it a different outlook, or was it or it could have been a combination of them both, where you just decided, hey, I want something different?
I think for me, life circumstances and challenges is what put me to where I am today.
Okay.
And so, because of that, many a times we go through life challenges, and
Get to the mic just a little bit
for
more.
the most part, some people they give up, they fold. But growing up in Baltimore, Park Heights area, graduating from
2115. Is that
Yes,
okay? Okay,
absolutely.
15 in the house.
Right. So having that I don't want to say that hood attitude, but that attitude of I won't give up
Awesome.
is what kept me in what has brought me to the place now. Did I want to give up? Several times. But I think for the most part, just the strength of the Lord that is upon my life and what He has ordained for me is what keeps me going. Then in addition to that, of course, when you have a child, you can't give up. You got to keep pushing even when you want to fold.
And I'm glad to hear you say that, because there are so many people, even with having children, still fold. And those are the people I'm more concerned with.
Yes.
Because the one thing I do believe, when it's just you can make some haphazard decisions and some crazy decisions. But when you have a child involved, but you got people watching you that you don't even know be watching you.
Yes.
And it's not even just about your children, because right. Because I can speak for myself. When I was going through my divorce, I didn't know what I was doing, why, things was happening the way it was happening. Couldn't afford no lawyer. You trying to make all this stuff happening, and you like, okay, Lord. And then He starts sending people to you.
Right.
Who can't afford to pay theirs even. And I'm trying to figure out, I'm sitting up here like, okay, Lord, what are you doing? Like, I don't even know if I'm doing this right.
Right. Been there.
I don't know if I'm doing it right. You're going to send people to me to help them. do something that I ain't even want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna send them to me?
Mhm.
Not just send them to me, but you having people refer them.
Right.
Not just they just happen to maybe had a conversation with me and say, "Well, maybe can you help me?" No, you got people actually referring them
Mm-hmm.
to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting back saying, "What the what?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even. I'm already feeling mad and bad because I'm at this place.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to say that your son, you couldn't give up, and that's a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
To say that you know, you had to keep fighting. I'm glad to hear that though.
You know what? My son name is Dillion, which in the Hebrew means Jehovah is faithful. So every time I look at him, despite what it is that I am faced with, it reminds me that through it all, God is a faithful God. And he will deliver, set free. And even if he don't, he'll give you the means to be able to handle your situation. And so for that, that is what keeps me, along with just who God is and my relationship with him.
Mhm.
As you stated, God will put you in a place where folks will start recommending your name to everybody. I never wanted to be a pastor. Never. I ran from preaching. I ran from all of it. um I don't particularly care to have the microphone in my hand or the spotlight. But at the same time, I understand that this is where the Lord has called me to be. I don't know why. And sometimes your own insecurities and things of that sort will try to put itself before you to where you're like, wait a minute, God, you gotta be no, you
You
playing
saying
some
he got
jokes.
jokes.
Yeah, you playing some
I
jokes with
know.
me
I,
right
I
now
know how you
because
feel.
I feel like Moses that time I stumble over my words, and so I can't necessarily speak. Are you kidding me? But God has a way
Or
that
you
will
feel like you
bring
see
you.
something and you know what it says and you said something totally different. Like,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly, exactly. But he has a way of bringing what's in you out, things that you don't even know that's in you. He has a way of bringing it out and shining it to be able to help other people. And so I'm grateful for that.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. That is so awesome. I truly am blessed by hearing that because, so many people, and being that you have been a first lady and all of that, we tend to get in these isolated places in
Mhm.
life, us women sometimes, and you really just don't know how much your life is really a blessing to someone else. And so I'm glad you are yielding, regardless that we run from it.
Mhm.
I'm glad you are yielding to what God has called you to be.
Mhm.
And it is a fight. It is a moment that you feel like, especially if you were like me who grew up in church
Mhm.
and grew up with, pastors in your family and preachers and deacons and trustees in your family,
Mhm.
and you saw all the spotlight on them and the drama and the trauma they went through. And now I'm gonna
Yes.
tell you, I don't want all that.
Yes.
I don't even want to deal with that. Cause see,
Yes.
I used to have a cussing spirit. So
I'm not even going to
I,
touch that.
I used to have a cousin spirit, and I was respectful to our elders. Don't
Uh-huh.
get me wrong,
Mhm.
but don't push me.
Mhm. Okay.
And so I just felt like I didn't want to give up some of those things.
Mhm.
Like, some of those things I didn't want to do. And it was like, and then having cousins, because we had half of us was Church of God in Christ, half of them was Baptist. Well, my mother and them was all the Baptist side, and my grandmother and them was all either Methodist or apostolic. So it was like, you loved all that fun apostolic stuff, but you couldn't wear no makeup, you couldn't do this, you couldn't
Right.
do that. And
No
I was
red
like,
lipstick.
bump
No.
that. I'm going Baptist because I wanted to wear the makeup, I wanted to wear the high heels, and I wanted to do all those things.
Yeah.
But that was the point of God doing what he had to do. And so it was like, I still don't want that. When you see all of this stuff that, especially my aunts and them who were PK kids and
Mhm.
all the stuff that always, I ain't want none of that. Like, nah. I was like, I'm just gonna go to church, sing on the choir, be the good girl like that,
Mhm.
and I'm good and keep
Right.
it moving,
Right.
But God had different.
Yes. His
God
ways
had
is not our
different.
ways.
It Girl, if that ain't the truth
These
right
ways is not
there.
our ways.
If that is not the God honest truth,
Mhm,
that is something that I've had to learn myself.
mhm,
As you said, you run, and you sit back and you say, "Okay, Lord, you got jokes, right?"
mhm,
I tell you, when I sometimes look back over my life,
mhm.
I just wonder, like, Lord,
But it's amazing. It's
yes,
amazing that God can take tragic situations and make it
mm-hmm,
triumphant. It's
absolutely.
amazing that He can take your mess, your
That's what I'm about to
all of
say.
your stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and turn it and make it into a message so that you are able to deliver those who feel like they can't be delivered.
Awesome.
And so I tell my church all the time, it's an honor and a privilege to be where I am today. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to be used by God. A lot of times people say in this Christian world, we say, God, use me all the time. Lord, I just want you to use me. I just want you to use me.
They
I just
better be
want you to use
careful when
me.
they say that.
Right. But God never He uses you, but
Oh,
he'll never tell you how He's going to use you. And so a
absolutely.
lot of times people, they want to blame everything on the devil. The devil did this, the devil did
Girl,
that.
you let me
When
get right
most
past.
of the
Wait, can we
time
get a plate? Wait a minute, baby. Your son gonna be the usher today. He gonna pass the plate on that one. Lord help us.
And most of the time, it's not the devil, it's the Lord using. He's a master. My bishop said it all the time. He's a master manipulator. He takes stuff and he switches it and turns it and makes it and make it work for you. And so that's when the scripture comes alive. All things work together
For
for
the
the
good
good of
of
them that
him,
love
love
him
him.
and who are
Mm.
called according to his purpose. So if you're in love with him, not infatuated, but if you're in love with him and then you've been called to your his purpose, then everything you go through in life will work for you. And so it's an honor to be criticized. It's an honor
Mm.
to be talked about.
Hmm.
It's an honor for people to be jealous. It's to
You
say
better.
any and everything or try to do any and everything to you. It's an honor because if this is for the gospel,
Hmm.
I'm fine with it. Now that's a different story. But if this is for the gospel, I'll
Hmm.
take this because if you want to reign with him, you got to suffer.
You got to. You got to. And that's the God honest truth.
Mhm.
Like today, I was saying that word today, I'm talking about how that hard road
Mhm.
and your faith in that process, because people want to give up, and everybody got faith when everything's going good.
Right. That's not faith.
Everything going good. You got all the faith in the world. But when that hard time comes,
Mhm.
and he want to see how you gonna handle it.
Mhm.
Because like you said, everything ain't always the devil. Sometimes it's us.
Right. Right.
He needs us in a special place. And the
Right.
only way he can get us to that place is if we find ourselves
Mhm.
in right standings with him the
Mhm.
way he needs us to be.
Mhm.
And even when we're not, he still will be patient and he'll give us the grace. But he wants us to be attentive to what he's doing and how he's doing
Mhm.
it.
And hardship brings that.
Oh my
Whether we
God.
want to believe it and accept it or
Oh
not,
my God.
hardship brings it. It's
Yeah.
not until you begin to have somebody cuss you out and lay you out, then you can still love them and treat them and give them a glass of water, like the Bible says, for you to know that you've matured in the things of God. Like
As
you said, you used to be a
absolutely.
cusser.
Hmm.
Okay, my whole family, both sides, everybody cuss. So you would never know that you can keep your tongue unless you've been placed in that situation to keep your tongue. So he
Yes.
creates again
An opportunity.
opportunities.
There you
Yes,
go.
he creates those opportunities to show you what it is you need to do, how you need to do it, and what it is you need to work on in your life. And it's an
Absolutely.
honor. It really is.
Absolutely.
People don't look at it anymore. Like they don't look at trials and tribulations. I look at my life, everything that I've endured, being a pastor's wife, going through an abusive relationship, almost being murdered, having to come home, losing $650,000 house on the water, losing everything to nothing. Like I've looked at all of these things, right? I look at all of these things and I count it all joy. Now, did I count it joy while I was in it?
Absolutely not.
Helicopter, no.
Absolutely not. I'm gonna say it for you. I'm gonna say it for you. Because you almost like talking my daggone story. I just wasn't married to a pastor. That's all I'm gonna say. You sound like you telling my story. I don't know, but it sounds like we just almost had the same story right there. And just you was a pastor's wife and I was not.
Honey, listen.
Mm.
Listen, I had conferences with black eyes. I went through, but I remained on the wall because what kept me was ministry and my child. Those are the two entities that kept me. The ministry, the love that I have for God, the love that I have for his people, and my child. That's what kept me.
My God, my God, my God, my God, my God, my God. My God. That is something because when you hear people always say, I don't look like what I've been through.
Mm.
You hear the song say, I don't look like what I've been through. But what I can truly say is that that's the grace that God puts on us all,
Mm-hmm.
that we don't look anything like we've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And like for me, I want them kind of people. I like to learn the first time. I like to, whatever he try and teach me, I'm hoping and praying always that I learned that first time
Right. So I won't do it
because
again.
I don't want to do it again. But when he make you revisit something,
Lord help me.
and then you just wondering because you like, is this really? Did I really do something wrong that I had to revisit it?
Mm-hmm.
And I've come to realize sometimes that's not about you doing something wrong, but right now he needs someone to see your walk
Mm-hmm.
through that process again,
Mm-hmm.
even though you didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes he needs somebody to see it because that was some years ago. That was your testimony some years ago, but now he needs you to make a difference for somebody right now who's
Right.
going through it.
Right.
They need to see it. They can't just hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the era we're in now that especially with our young people,
Absolutely.
they need to see. They not into this talk to me like when
Yeah.
we were like I know when I was growing up, it was like, they talk to you and that's what it was.
Right.
But now
They have to see it.
they have to
Mhm.
see it. And they got and if they don't see it, they gonna call you out on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference that I see. And I'm trying to, because my mom and them are very old school, so they think everything's supposed to still be that old school way. And I'm trying to help them see that ain't what it is today. You got to understand the young people. Granted, yes, we still need to keep the hymns in the church. Yes, we still need to do certain things in the church, but we have to see them for
Mm-hmm.
who they are because they're not the same young people that we grew up as.
The message never changes, but the
Absolutely.
method does.
Us.
So
Absolutely.
just preach Christ. That's all you got to do. They will get it. Just preach Christ.
And not just our young people, because even some of our even our adults who have maybe, depending on how they were raised and they've gotten different views of church,
Mm-hmm.
and if they've come from more than one religious background, they tend to find themselves in a despondent place
Right.
when things like today is happening.
Right.
When we find ourselves in the place that we're in right now,
Mm-hmm.
not just saying about what 45 said and just looking at our communities as a
Right.
whole and things of that nature, our folk find themselves in a despondent place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I just feel we really have to continue
Mm-hmm.
to pray and trust that God is
Right.
able and will
Absolutely.
fix all of what's going on around us.
Absolutely.
And so I just want to now let's tip over into the book because we'll touch base as far as the church and all of that in a moment. But first of all, that title, Lord, save me from me before I self-destruct. Well, how and why such a title that could be so capturing? Because that's what got me.
Mhm.
I saw that and then I looked up and saw who the author was. I didn't even look at that part. I just saw that when I'm strolling through Facebook and I saw that and I was like,
Wow.
wow. And then I looked up and said, oh, I'm friends with her. Like I was like, I'm friends with her. Because it was like, you read. I don't normally read who it is until after I read what it.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, I'm like, okay, I'm friends with her. Wait a minute, we gotta reach out to her. Like, I'm like, okay, we got to get her. I like that title just hit set so in a confirmation place.
Right.
Not that's where I am right now, but it was like a confirmation place.
Mm-hmm.
So let's hear about the title and then let's hear about this book.
So, Lord, save me from me before I self destruct is my own personal testimony and in the place where I am even now, and I think I will probably be in this place until the Lord calls me home, because there's always certain things and certain decisions that we have to make, that will either break us or make us.
Okay.
And so Lord save me from me in my own personal life. I had to make some hard decisions, and some of the decisions that I've made, if I will be honest, and with myself, is that some of the decisions I made out of flesh. And I made it because I wanted to do it, because I'm grown, I'm an adult, I carry my own, and so because
Wow.
of that, I'm going to do it. Not sitting and getting counsel, or getting counsel but not listening to counsel, and not hearing the instructions of the Lord, although He's giving it to me. And so it put me in places in my life where I'm paying for it right now. I'll just leave it like that. I'm paying for it right now. And so this book really hit home for me as the Lord allowed me to write it. And I came to my life where my prayer time, I began to go before the Lord, and He gave me this message here. He said, "You're going to yourself if you don't allow me to save you." And on the church, and you can't blame on your life and who you were with and who you used to be married to, and you have to take responsibility for yourself. This one right here, Yvette, is all you.
So at this point, you are what, pastor at this point?
I am
When
pastor.
you are pastor when this message from the Lord came.
Mhm.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. That's a testimony. That's a testimony right
Mhm.
there. Because sometimes we write these books and it's after the journey.
Now-
Or that's like right after the journey. And so it's like, now let me put this in writing to help somebody see I can come through. You can come through after what I've come through. And here you were already
in it.
pastor. You're in it. And
Mhm.
you wow.
I'm in it. I'm actually in it. And I tell my story of how God called me an abuser. I tell my story on how God reprimanded me, during my time of prayer, during my time of just life itself, and just going through life itself. I tell my story on how God had to save me from Yvette. Because Yvette can be a very strong-minded individual that don't want to listen at times. All of us is like that.
Absolutely.
We have that sinful nature that go against the grains of God, go against the word of
I
God.
say this, the negotiation. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we
what I
want-
call it,
yeah.
Yvette. Let me tell you, I'm one of them ones. I used to try to negotiate with the Lord.
Yes, you want to
I want
negotiate
you.
with
We
God.
want to
There
negotiate
is
with Him.
no negotiation with God.
It ain't none.
None whatsoever.
Oh
And
no.
God, what He does, especially when His hand is on you, what He does is He'll allow certain situations to come into your life to prove to you that who do you think you are. The same way He asked Joe, "Where was you when I put the stars and the sun and everything in the sky? You wasn't even born, boy. So you can't tell me how to run an earth that I created for you to live in."
You better preach.
So that's where I was in my life. Yvette, you can't tell God who created you. Every chromosome that's in your body, He created you. From the dust of the earth, He created you. And then He turned around and gave you something that you couldn't even get on your own, the air that you breathe. So how are you going to tell Him how to rule your life? How are you going to tell Him how to do certain situations? And so He spoke to me, and I always say this, even when the passing of my son, I say this, that the sovereignty of God is never to be explained, but is always to be respected. And so God tells me this, okay, I'm going to save you from you, but I'm going to need you to respect the fact that I'm your God. You're not mine. Even as a pastor, as a leader, as a woman of God that travels the world, that preaches the gospel, people follow me, even in this shoe. Yes, you're not my God, Yvette. I'm yours. So where I tell you to go, what I tell you to do, that's what you're going to do.
You better preach.
And if you don't do it, I'm going to allow certain situations to make you do it. There's some of us that God going to make do what He say. Then there's others that you ever had. I tell my son all the time, you will always get in trouble. because God's hand is on you. I don't care how much you try to hide from different things. And even with my own personal life, you can try to hide it. You will always get in trouble. Somebody will always tell. I told my bishop the other, maybe a month or two ago, I said, somebody always running and telling you something. I mean, what is the problem? If they had a problem, why don't they come to me?
Come to me.
To run to you.
Girl.
And he said to me, he said, Yvette, well, he said, Bannister. He said, Bannister, when God hand is on you, he'll never allow you to get away with anything. He'll always allow you to be seen in every situation.
Where to play that?
To perfect you.
Jesus, let me find a plate. We're gonna have to bring a plate in here, because I tell you, Lord, do I have a hat here or something? Lord have mercy. She is teaching and preaching the word. Those of you who are on Facebook and Periscope and YouTube, if you are watching us right now, Lord, save me from me before I self-destruct. This is Yvette Bannister, Pastor Yvette Bannister, Lady Yvette Bannister, Yvette Bannister. She all of them. Wherever you want to, if you got to title her somewhere, all of it. And this right here, this is not no aftermarket book. This is not no after she done been through and got it together. This is while she is going through. And those are the ministries that you like to hear when somebody is going through and they can still minister and they can still help the people even in their own, because that bleeding on people is dangerous.
Absolutely.
That bleeding on people is dangerous.
Absolutely.
Very dangerous. And how did you not do that in this season that you were in? How did you not bleed on the people? Because you're a pastor. You're not just a leader. You're not just a church member. You're not just somebody sitting in a pew.
Right.
You are a pastor.
I dealt with my own insecurities and demons behind closed doors. But when it came to preaching the gospel and preaching and talking to the church, I preached Jesus. That's it. I never preached Yvette. I dealt with Yvette behind closed doors. I dealt with the members in the whole church and the whole facade of church. I dealt with that at a separate time, at a separate place. Church is for church. No matter what Yvette is going through, how she's going through it, you're standing in front of God's people. And I think for me, that is what keeps me. I fear God when it comes to his people. I'm not one of those ones that play or feel like they can say anything or do anything to God's people. Do they frustrate me sometimes? Of course they do.
Absolutely.
Of course they do.
Absolutely.
Do I have to rebuke them sometimes? Yes, I do. But I don't allow, and I think for me, my leader is what keeps me grounded, because he's a man, and men are not as emotional as women are. Not to say that a woman can't lead, because I am in that place. However, he keeps me grounded. He lets me see the bigger picture than just instead of looking at that through what he would call a tunnel.
So was he your accountability person, or did you have someone else who
he is still my accountability person.
Okay.
He is
awesome.
my accountability person.
Awesome. Because sometimes, we do have, even though we may have our lordship, meaning our bishops that are over us, but then we also have that girlfriend, that real friend that got you. And
I haven't had one. I don't have any of those. I had one.
Okay.
I won't go there, but I had one. And at the betrayal, I kind of like, okay, that's okay.
So are you open for God to be blessing you, to God to bless you with another one? Because that maybe have been a person that was a seasonal person, that we sometimes make them a permanent person. And we don't always realize that some people are just what they are for a season. Are you open for God to bless you with someone to, because sometimes we get in that place, it's like, I'm stuck. She hurt me. I don't want nobody else.
Right. No, I'm not there.
Okay.
I'm not that type. I'm not there. I'm not.
Awesome.
I'm not going to let my guards down type of person when it comes down to that. Whomever God allows to come into my area, my space, I'm open to it, with open arms, I receive them. And I know there'll be times where he'll send a Judas. It's okay. I'll welcome Judas too. I need you to come so you can do what you need to do, so I can get to where I need to.
Because they the blessings.
Right. Absolutely.
Lord
right,
Jesus,
right.
did I just go through that? Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
So whatever he has, that's where I'm at in life. And it takes a lot to get there. A lot of people are not there. It takes a lot to get there. It takes a lot of whipping.
Mhm.
It takes a lot of challenge. It takes a lot of all of those type of things to get to the place where I'm like, look, I'm just completely sold out. I don't know. And I'm not trying to sound holy than thou, but
Mm-mm.
I'm there. It took me to get into
It's
my
not
40s
always
to get there.
that's what I'm saying. It's not even about you sounding holy than thou. Let's be real clear. Once we have come to a place that we are, sold out for the
Mhm.
Lord,
Absolutely.
we can still have fun.
Right.
We can
That's
still
me.
enjoy each
Oh,
other.
honey, I
We
love
can hang
I
out. We
love it.
can party. We can dance. We can do a lot of things.
Mhm.
But we still sold out for the Lord because there is no options for
Right.
me.
Mhm.
Like, if I've never been on a level before, I know the level I'm on right now with him is a whole different level
It
that I
is.
have been. And I think I felt like I've been on other levels before, but this level has taken me, and this faith walk that he has me on right now,
Mhm.
I know only he could have done it.
Mhm.
This ain't nothing Angela Michelle Marshall, aka A Michelle, could have ever done. Would have ever done.
Right.
You understand what I'm
Right.
saying?
Only
So
God.
only he
Only
could do
God.
that. And so, just hearing this and this makes me even more intrigued with this book because of the fact that you said you were a pastor
Mhm.
going through
Mhm.
and you were able to allow yourself to humble yourself to say this
Mhm.
about yourself and not bleed on your people
Mhm.
because you got pastors, deacons, trustees, deaconess, ushers, and all the other little people in church with a title
Mhm.
that bleeds on the people.
Mhm.
And that's why we have people in such places that they're in right
You
now.
have to separate the two. As leaders,
And I've been a firm believer of that.
you have to
Like,
separate it.
you got to be able to separate. You cannot
Mm-mm.
allow.
Mm-mm. You
Mm,
have to separate the two. You cannot allow your situation to detour you from what God has commanded and ordained for you to do and be before the foundation of the world. Because the reality is that He already knew you was going to be jacked up anyway, right? So
absolutely.
he already knew that your life was going to spiral the way it spiraled. He already knew that you were going to make bad decisions. He already knew all of those things, and so therefore you have to separate it. You cannot bleed on people. I preached a message years ago: hurting people hurt people. and
Mm,
and and I found it to be true. However, I also know that you can separate the two. Behind closed doors, as leaders, we go through so much. Leaders go through so much. Whether people want to believe it or not, you may see people with the flashy cars, the diamond rings, and the red bottoms, and all of those things. I have, thank the Lord for it. How I brought it on my own. Let me just make that clear. uh,
absolutely.
you have those you see those things and you think that maybe that man, that's the life, but you never know what that person is dealing with, what level of insecurity they have with themselves, what maybe have transpired in their childhood life, what they may have been going through with their parents or family members or whatever the case may be. You never actually know. And so therefore you have to deal with yourself at home. You have to deal with yourself at home. In my first book, A Silent Cry, the inner soul of a worshiper, I talked about an anointed woman such as myself, because that was talked about me, that I was anointed with out of control emotions. I could do everything, whatever, preach and allow God to use
Oh,
me.
wow. I wish you would have
But
bought that book
then
so we could have shared that with the people. Mm.
I was preaching, I was running revivals, I was traveling, I was doing all of these things. And after I finished coming out of the pulpit, I would go into my hotel or go into my room, and my emotions was all over the place. All over the place. So much so that there were times where I wanted to commit suicide. So much so that I wanted to just do whatever the world I wanted to do. That's
Mm.
what I wanted to do, because I did not get a hold of my emotions. I was anointed. You would never know I was dealing with any of those things behind, because of the fact that I took it behind closed doors.
Mhm.
But the reality is that I still was dealing with it. My anointing does not dissipate because of my emotions or my problems and things like that. It's actually it's still there, and it's even greater because I can be able to relate to other women or even men that may be going through those situations. And so you have to learn how to separate the two. You cannot preach um, bleeding and hurtful on people. You have to sober yourself, as my bishop would say. You have to sober your mind up and you have to do what God called you to do. It makes you more effective.
Well, one thing I can truly say that with the fact that you said you were all over the place in your emotions, and I try to in dealing with all of that, I try to tell people all the time, especially when they try to come for the different preachers, because one thing about me, and you'll find and learn, I don't play that talk about the preacher thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-mm.
Don't get me wrong, because I come from a family of us, so I know,
Mm-hmm.
and I know things my grandfather and them used to say. We cannot, we cannot. My grandfather was dead, great grandfather. That's my great grandfather. He's dead now, but he said you can never judge a pastor or a preacher because of what they do.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot take their anointing from what God has given them.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to pray that God will eventually evolve them in a place that they understand where God has them at, because sometimes the things that they do is not pleasing to the sight of the regular person.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore they like, oh, I thought he was this pastor, why he like this? And but like I try to remind them, they are men and women before they were called to do whatever God called them to do. Now sometimes some people moved ahead of what God was doing or moved slower, and so therefore they weren't where they should have been or could be.
It, it's amazing to me because people always say that, oh, you're supposed to be a pastor, you're supposed to be this, you're supposed to be that. It does not take away the fact of who I am.
It doesn't.
The reality is that every person you read in the Bible, while they may have done all these great exploits, all of them was jacked up from the flow up.
As we
Every
said,
last
we just said
person.
that. What was that, Friday? I think it was Friday. We were talking about that. Every sin,
Every
every mess.
person.
And like I
And
said, no, that must have been Thursday. I said, oh, and by the way, some of them weren't married. Some of them weren't
they wasn't
this.
married. They were
Some of
sleeping with their aunts and uncles and
was
grandmothers and kids too at the same time.
what?
They were dealing in everything. Everything that
Everything.
we are experiencing now, but yet God used them. Moses was jacked up. Aaron was jacked up.
David, Lord
David
Jesus.
was jacked up.
David, my God. Sometimes I used to say, is that me? Lord Jesus, is that
These
me?
people were, Paul was messed up. Peter,
Oh my goodness.
Matthew, all of them were messed up. Isaiah, everybody had a problem.
And them women and
Everybody
them
had a
men and women
problem.
that you don't always read about. So if you get some of them other Bibles, not just the regular King James, but some of them other Bibles that got study stuff in there, and you'll find about some
Read.
other
You gotta
men
read
and
the word of
women
God.
that's not really mentioned per se, but
Mhm.
they're in those Bibles. And when you read about some of these other men and women, you'll find yourself like, wow.
Mhm.
Wow, is this woman really who what?
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we forget. We read these stories, but we forget that these were people who was messed up, just like the pastor that you're looking at in front of you that's maybe messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't and we read these stories and we preach from these stories and we come up with all these deep revelation, but when it comes down to the person that's in front of you that labored with you, that gave you money, that paid your rent, that helped you with your telephone bill, that listened to your moaning and complaining and crying and snotting and prayed you through, you don't have mercy on them, but you have mercy on somebody that you read in a book. Makes no sense to me. Everybody that God uses, it is his presence that perfects us to be used during that time.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, all of us still have to come back and say, Lord, please forgive me
Please
for the
forgive
sins that
me.
I've committed, the ones that I don't know that I've committed. If I went in any way, if I coveted my neighbor's brother, whatever, Lord, please forgive me. And I think we forget that. I don't know why. I don't know why we forget that.
I don't know why either. I really don't know why myself. And we're gonna come back. We're gonna take a quick little break, give her a moment to, refresh if she want to get some water, and then we're gonna come back with our inspirational corner, and then we're gonna just chat, continue to have our little conversation as we have been. It's been truly inspiring. And if you have not gotten the book, Lord, Save Me from Me Before I Self-Destruct, Yvette Bannister. And so we will be back after this. We're going to we're going to listen to one of our local artists, Naomi B, Created to Worship. And this is your girl, A. Michelle, here on the Baltimore Flavor Gospel Show. And we will be right back.
No, time goes by and regrets start clouding up my mind. The next thing I know, I'm heavy, head burned inside. Oh, and so I withdraw. I hold back from the one I love. When you created me to worship, so how can I not worship? How can I let the things around me consume me? When you created me to worship, these are just distractions trying to make me take my eyes off you. Troubles come, yes, they find me and force me to my knees. But that's where he can find me and set my spirits free. To burn out the frustration. I need to be free. Yet I hold back from the one I need. Why, when you created me to worship, so how can I not worship? How can I let the things around me consume me? Created me to worship. These are just distractions trying to make me take my eyes off you. Let me tell you what I'm gonna do. I'll place my eyes on you. I'll place my thoughts on you. Commit my ways to you. Devote my life to you and worship. 'Cause you created me to worship. So I'll spend my whole life in worship. You created me to worship. Yes, you did, yeah. So much I wanna worship. I worship your holy name, oh God. Created me to worship. That's what I want to do. So worship. Yeah, you created me to worship. Oh, no matter what comes my way, I'll give you the glory, God. You created me to worship. These are just distractions trying to make me take my eyes off you. These are just distractions trying to make me take my eyes off you.
This show is being sponsored by Worldwide Flavor Network. If you are looking to have your own radio show, come and join us here on WWFN Online Radio. Contact us via our website, www.worldwideflavornetwork.com.
Hey everybody. Hey everybody, it's your boy Theron Fowler, and you're tuning in to Baltimore Flavor Gospel Show with A. Michelle.
And we are back. It's your girl A. Michelle here on the Baltimore Flavor Gospel Show, and we are going to do our inspirational corner. Our inspirational corner today comes from Psalm 27 and 7. Hear, O Lord, when I cry with my voice, have mercy also upon me and answer me. When I ask the Lord, of course, always what text every week, and He sent me there. And some people are crying out to the Lord, and I'm not sure what words you're saying. And Lord is not always looking for a dissertation. Sometimes we go to Him with all this long dissertation, and He's not looking for that. He just wants you to cry out and call Him. And sometimes the not knowing what to say, because we try to put all the words together and make it sound good when he really already knows what your heart is saying and what your mind is saying. He knows all of that. And so this week, when you're going through, when you're meeting some challenges this week, just call on him. Don't go trying. You can make some petitions very known to him, but sometimes just sit back and just call him, because he already knows your heart. He already knows what's on your mind and what's prompting you to call out to him. And so I ask that you just sit back, relax, and allow him to do what he has to do. He has the mercy already on you. He already knows how the outcome is going to be. He just needs you to just give him the chance to do his work, because we want to get in and we want to do the work. We want to pray to him, but then we want to jump in and try to fix it and do it our way. And at the end of the day, he wants to do it his way. And so he's not going to give you the freedom to do it your way. He's going to let you maybe try, but then at the end of the day, he's going to show you that his way was the better way. Because we want things to be easy for us. And always things that are governed to us easy is not always his plan. Because the hard work, as the preacher said this morning, strengthens your faith. It puts you in a whole nother place. So stop trying to find the easy way out and let God do his work. And so we're going to now have a prayer by Ebony Collins.
Heavenly Father, I come to you crying out for the people who think there is no way out of their situation, the people who are hurting deep within and trying to put on a brave face. God, I'm coming on behalf of the person who is saying, I've given my all, I've prayed and cried, I come to the altar and poured it all, but my heart is still broken. When love shows its face, my soul is still broken. For the person who says, I just can't do anything right, the person who goes to work every day but they don't make enough to pay their bills. I come for the person who has turned off notices on their door because they just can't pay their bills anymore, living beneath their means but not keeping up. Babies are hungry and they're doing their best, but don't feel like they feeding them kids enough. Can't give their best. They think they're giving their best, but their best just isn't good enough. They aren't living their best, God, and their mind is messed up and plagued with stress and mess, and you're tired of these tests. Stop calling their friends because they don't want to be a pest. Now they feel alone. Now they feel depressed. Now they're living a secret pain because they're embarrassed to confess that it hurts. Sometimes you can't even explain what hurts or why. Heavenly Father, I come to you crying out for the people who think there is no way out of their situation, the people who are hurting deep within and trying to put on a brave face. God, I'm coming on behalf of the person who is saying, I've given my all, I've prayed and cried, I come to the altar and poured it all, but my heart is still broken. When love shows its face, my soul is still broken. For the person who says, I just can't do anything right, the person who goes to work every day but they don't make enough to pay their bills. I come for the person who has turned off notices on their door because they just can't pay their bills anymore, living beneath their means but not keeping up. Babies are hungry and they're doing their best, but don't feel like they feeding them kids enough. Can't give their best. They think they're giving their best, but their best just isn't good enough. They aren't living their best, God, and their mind is messed up and plagued with stress and mess, and you're tired of these tests. Stop calling their friends because they don't want to be a pest. Now they feel alone. Now they feel depressed. Now they're living a secret pain because they're embarrassed to confess that it hurts. Sometimes you can't even explain what hurts or why it hurts or where it hurts, but it hurts. I cry out for the person who is ready to give up on life. The silent tears are now crying out because they are on the edge, ready to jump. Grab them, Lord, grab them right up. The Bible said that Jesus would go to the Father on our behalf, and you would send the Holy Ghost to comfort us. Dispatch your angels around the person who is hurting. Send the Holy Ghost to the one who is lost. Whisper in their ears that you see them. Penetrate their hearts with your love. Let your grace reign supreme in their lives. Tell them their life has purpose even when nothing is going right. Everything is going wrong. Be their strength when they just can't be strong. If they still feel that it's too much. If they still feel that they want to jump, if they still jump because they just can't take it all, I pray your word, your grace, and your mercy be the peace that breaks their fall. I speak against the spirit of depression that is taking out people's minds. The spirit that says you aren't good enough, you aren't smart enough, you aren't strong enough, you don't deserve your kids, you don't deserve to live. God, tell them they deserve everything you have to give. I rebuke the suicidal spirit. I rebuke the shame. I rebuke the insecurities. I rebuke the pain. I'm crying out, God. I'm standing in the gap. God has not left you. God has not forsaken you. When no one else does, God still has your back. God loves you when you don't love yourself. God loves you at your worst. God loves you at your best. Don't you give in. Don't you give up. God is always here. Touch him, God. Touch her, God. Restore them. Restore their hearts. Restore their peace. Restore their minds. God, I trust you to restore your people. God, I trust you to heal your people. God, I trust you to touch your people. God, I trust you to love your people. Be there for your people, God. They don't know. Some of us just don't know the love that you can give us, God, but I trust you to give it anyway. Give it to us in spite of us, God, not because of us. In spite of us, I trust you, God. I trust you for your people. I cry out for your people. I cry out for their lives. I stand in the gap when they don't trust you. I trust you for them, God. I love you for them, God. Give them a new life. Restore them, God.
And we are back. It's your girl, A. Michelle. We have just heard from Ebony Collins, who gave us that wonderful prayer. And so we are now back. If you have not been, if you're just tuning in to us, we have here Pastor Lady, Mrs. Miss, all of those titles, Yvette Bannister, because she all of that and some more. And her title of her book is Lord Save Me from Me Before I Self-Destruct. And so far, we've already been chatting about who she is, and we've chatted a little bit about this book. But what is more intriguing to me is because, we have in the churches these days people bleeding, meaning pastors and leaderships and all of those type people are bleeding on the people. Not in every church, but there are a few churches that are out here that are doing that. And so the one thing that I appreciate in her walk is that she was going through, but she didn't bleed on the people. And her book is a book that was while she was going through, she was pastoring. And so we are just so elated to have her here in the studio with us on today. And so we're going to continue to talk about this book and talk about being a pastor. What is it like? What is being a mom,
being a pastor, it takes a lot. You have a teen. I'm not sure how old your son is.
15.
Okay, so he's 15 years old. So I'm sure he's very active. When they get about 50, no, I'm saying once they turn probably about 6 now,
Yeah.
they got schedules busier than yours
Right.
almost because of all the different things that they are involved in. And so being a pastor and being a mom, how do you balance it all?
I don't know.
I can
I don't
agree
know.
with
My
you on
mom just told me this
that.
yesterday. She said to me, she said, "Girl, you need some time to yourself because it's just too much that's going on. You're pastoring, like you said. I have a 15-year-old who I homeschool.
Oh, wow.
I'm
Okay.
still in school pursuing my doctorate in my PhD in communications.
Awesome.
It's so much that's going on. Running Lady Yvette Ministries. Plus, I'm the campus pastor of Judah Noun Church in Maryland. We're one church in 2 states. Our main campus is in Fort Lauderdale, well, Pompano Beach, Florida,
Okay.
where my bishop is, Bishop Charles Rawson. So it's a lot that's going on. And then you have Lady Yvette Mentorship Program. So I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, that means you must have some good teamwork. You got some good,
I do
you
have
got
some
some
good
good, you got
teamwork.
some good folk behind you because I just can't see you doing it all by yourself.
No,
So
I
I
don't.
know
Shout out to Renee.
you have to
Renee,
have some good teamwork because I know I have a few girlfriends. I got one since the moment this all birthed and God just like she literally was in here every night with me, getting things set up, getting things done. And every time I had to do something new, I'm like, are you free to be able to help me? Girl, yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there in a little bit, And it's just a blessing when you have those kind of sister girls and friends, not just always sisters, because sometimes you got some good male friends that can, got your back and everything. And so you must have some good help behind you.
I do. Shout out to Renee. Renee is that's my heart. The girl keeps me going. If
Awesome.
I come up with an idea, she's on it. Okay, Pastor, how we gonna do this? Oh, don't worry about it. I'll get back with you. And within the same day,
Awesome.
she's a pusher for me. I
Awesome.
thank the Lord that He sent me someone genuine
Awesome.
that keeps me
Awesome.
moving.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. And that is something that it's really hard these days
Yes.
to find good help, good support
Mhm.
because
And my church supports me too.
awesome.
My church
Awesome.
supports me. So I
Awesome.
thank God for their lives. I really do.
Awesome because it's really hard,
Mhm.
you got a lot going on. And again, when you are a parent, that takes on a whole nother level of your time
Mhm.
because you still have to, the word says family first.
I have to balance. There
So
is
you have
balance.
to bring the balance there
Mhm.
because God wants us to take care of our homes, our families.
Mhm.
And so, as you said, as a mom and running the ministries that you're running in the business, and now you have the book, that's a whole nother level of training and touring and things that you may have on the agenda as well.
Mhm.
And so it's awesome that you do have a good team because that's the only way that people are successful is when you have teams. Don't get me wrong, it's wonderful to think you can be mighty woman, superwoman, and do it all yourself. But I know myself,
Right.
we want to do it all. But
We-
sometimes we have to be open and allow God to bring and bless those in your life who
Mhm.
can be a blessing
Yes.
and help you with moving your entity to the next level.
Mhm.
Because I know this launch right here, it was very unexpected.
Mhm.
So the way that God did it, he put all the things in place and he put the right people and the right things and the right situations all together, and he's been just continuing to bless us with more and more opportunities for people to come your way
Mhm.
that will be a blessing. So I commend your team because it's not easy. And we, as they always say, us women, we are particular. As they say, we are particular, and we are,
Yes.
because we always in a nutshell, I know us women most of the time we just want the best
Mhm.
for all those who are connected to us.
Absolutely. Excellence is a part of me.
It's not about us.
Right.
It's really about, we want it to really be everything and more to the individuals who we have to be connected with.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome that you have an awesome team, and team continue because it shows, it reflects. based on, when I looked at your Facebook page, when I looked at, the post even for this book, the excellence that was put into, when you
Thank
sent
the
me the
Lord.
flyer and things of that nature, though that information was just ready, because there's so many things, being that I work on the entertainment marketing, and I have all those backgrounds, you find yourself, you try not to critique when you're looking at everything, but it happens.
Mhm.
And so when you get things, you want to try to always be an encouragement, not trying to badmouth them or anything.
Right, right.
But when I got your information, it was just nice to see, polished stuff, because
Oh, bless God.
um it's wonderful we put these books out,
Mhm.
but we don't always have the right advertising or the right marketing behind getting that information out
Mhm.
there. And I'm one who's a pusher. So therefore, if I know about it prior to, we getting you on prior to your book launch, so
Mhm.
that we can push the launch, so we can push people coming out, we can push people getting pre-sales and all of those kind of things, which helps the sales of a book, because that first 30 days of pushing after the book comes out, people, because I'm dealing with marketing a lot. People, I didn't know it was going to be this hard, and that's why I always encourage. If once you know when the book is coming out, let's get your launch set up. Let's
Mhm.
get these things set up so that everything can be a constant push,
Mhm.
because it's another book that's going to come out from somebody else that's
Right.
going to draw the attention and traction. So
Right.
therefore, we have to, do the things that we have to do. And so, seeing um seeing your product was just of definite quality and excellence. And looking at it, it looks like an easy read, so I like that. I like easy
I
reads.
purposely didn't put so much. That nobody
Them
see me
little
reading
tiny
all that.
words, girl. Yvette, let's be clear. I get some of these books and I'll be like, okay,
Let me get the dictionary.
that's called let's not just the dictionary, but let me find a vacation to put this one on.
Mhm.
Like this, I could do this one, because the words ain't too small.
Mhm.
And that's one of the ones you can read probably a couple times, because like these kind of books, like the book Ebony Collins Heavenly Glasses, her book, I was like, oh yeah, that's a nice easy read, and you can read it, and before you know it, you don't read it again because of the substance that's in it.
Mhm.
When I read
Mhm.
books back to back,
Mhm.
most of the time, like her book was a confirmation book.
Mhm.
Like, okay, you did right, you did
Mhm.
that right,
Mhm.
you did that. Like, because you sometimes want to question yourself, like, did
Yeah.
I do it right? Did
Yeah.
I? Because you can't always ask people, because
Mhm.
you're looking at it from a different perspective. So when you see yourself and you like, man, I'm reading, and I'll be like, I did that right, because she confirming that in their book, like, yes, those type of things. So as pastor and teacher and all of that in your ministry, how are your members, how do they balance all of what is their feedback on all the things that you have going on and following you as a leader? Because I know with the years, women ministries have really evolved over the years. And so I know how hard it is for some women pastors to really make it. And
Mhm.
so how are you able to sustain and manage your ministry?
Much prayer.
Okay. Okay.
Much. I will be honest with you. Much prayer.
Okay.
I don't have the answers all the time. I don't have the solutions all the time, but I know who does.
Mm-hmm.
And so much prayer, much
Okay.
prayer. And my church, for the most part, they are very, very, very supportive.
Okay.
Very supportive. And
Awesome.
so they
Awesome.
they wrap their minds around my schedule and make things happen for us. So
Now, did you start this ministry, or this church was already in existence and you were called in to be pastor?
so the main church, the headquarters church rather, is in Pompano Beach, Florida. So
Okay.
Bishop Charles Ross is my bishop. He is the senior pastor of Judah Noun Church.
Okay.
This is an extension of the Pompano Beach,
Okay.
Florida, where I am the campus pastor. So he's still the senior pastor. So
Okay.
that helps me a little bit too. Because when
Okay.
there's a bunch of stuff going on,
You can
I'm-
pass that on,
I need to
pastor.
come get your church.
Oh, you funny.
Of course, he put it back on me, but that, I mean, it's our church. I don't say it's his church. It's our church,
Okay.
because I'm just so grateful to God that he even seen um what's in me, something that I didn't see in myself, to be able to trust me with his church. So
Awesome, awesome, awesome,
prayer,
awesome.
him, and the church, they all keep me. And then my son, you know, those 15-year-olds, they can come out with some slick slide stuff out of their mouth, and you be sitting there looking at them like,
Really?
okay, the Lord gave that to you, because I know you didn't just think of that when you're on your own. So
Out of the mouths of babes,
yes,
mama.
yes, that's what keeps me. That's what's keeping me.
Awesome, awesome. And that's awesome to have the support that you have
Yes.
with your son, with your family. How do you balance not just him, but how do you balance the rest of your family life? Because you know you're not married, right? You said
I am not. I am single.
you are single. So you know your parents and your cousins
Well,
and
I'm
your
in between.
family.
Is that a? I don't know what I am. No, I'm single.
Okay. I'm about to say, oh, you telling me something new. What's the in
No, I'm just
between?
kidding,
I was
I'm
like, what's the in between? Because I'm like, am I in between? Like,
No, I'm
because I'm
kidding.
like,
I'm kidding.
it's cool. It's
No,
cool.
I'm
I'm
single.
good. I'm good. That's why I'm about to say, wait a minute. She said in between. So what's the in between part? Because maybe I'm missing something.
No, I am happily single. I'm
Okay.
happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
I'm happily single, but I do desire that
No.
that
You
God
got
would
twisted now.
bless eventually.
Yeah.
You
No.
know,
No.
that
Yes.
that's what I do pray
When the
that
time
when
is
it's his
right.
when it's his time.
When
Because
the
this
time is
time
right.
it's gonna be his time. It ain't gonna be mine.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yes.
Ain't gonna be my choosing. Lord no, Jesus no. It will
Yes.
not be my choosing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
but how do you balance the rest of your family? Like because you're with all that you have going on, how do you manage all of that?
Um, I'm still working on it. I have a sister. I have a brother. That I did not grow up with. I learned when I came back home to Maryland. It's been over 10 years now that I've been back home into the state of Maryland when I moved from Florida, or rather when I was forced from Florida.
Okay, so
Um,
you originally lived here and then you moved to Florida.
I originally born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland,
Okay.
and got married at the age of 19,
Okay.
widowed at the age of 20, married again at the age of 22, moved to Florida where I co-pastored two churches in Florida with my ex-husband, who was the father of my son.
Okay.
And then because of the drama and trauma that happened, being a domestic violent relationship, I was forced to move back to Maryland.
Okay.
And so I've been here May 10th, 2010 is when I moved.
Wow,
When I left
that's a
everything.
year. That's a
Mhm.
year right there.
Mhm.
That 2010.
2010 was a year.
Was a
So
year. Wow.
So I
Wow.
left everything.
Mm.
When I say everything, I mean everything. I came back home to Maryland with just the clothes on my back, no suitcase, no nothing. My son had on a school uniform because I had to snatch him out of school. It was a life and death situation. So I ran back home to Maryland, of course, and began to transform into who I am now. And so this is where we are now in 2019.
Awesome. 9 years later.
Uh-huh.
Wow. How God. Only but God.
Only God.
Because I tell you, 2010, my divorce was final. I lost my job. I was trying to finish my MBA. I mean, it was a lot.
Mhm.
So to hear that, and look at, we are still standing.
Still standing.
We are here.
Still standing. It was a transition. It was definitely
Oh
a
my God.
transition. When you have your own, when you're a pastor's wife, and you have your home, and your home is sitting on the water, and alligators is your neighbor, and you're living that life. You have the clothes, the purses, you have everything that a first lady think that's what, that makeup of that facade that people like to have. I'm not really understanding the position as a first lady. I won't even go there. So I had all of that. So to leave everything and to come back to Maryland to live in my mom's home, um, in a small bed, sleeping on a futon with me and my son, living out of a trash bag, was a transition for me.
So when you had the abuse going on for a long time, or were you one of them ones, soon as he did it and it happened, you rolled out?
No.
You was like, bump this. I ain't about to deal with that. Or was it one of those things where you had been in this for years or
Years.
Wow.
I stayed in it for years. I stayed in it for years because of low self-esteem. I did not know, and I stayed in it because of fear. I never knew what fear was. It was introduced to me. When you grow up in Baltimore, you grow up in the hood, you grow up around Park Heights. I've seen people murdered in front of me. I've had guns pulled out on me. I dated drug dealers. Okay.
Been there,
So
done that.
I had and lived a life that was like what I try to keep my son. My son he doesn't even know what it even feels like to live in a home with roaches and rats and mice and a whole bunch of chaos. Okay. So I never knew what fear was. When you're a nappy head little girl from Baltimore and you're in the hood and you're seeing all types of stuff and you have your gangster family, okay, that ran the Park Heights area, you don't fear anything because all I had to do was call a certain amount of people, no, just one person, and that was it. We were able to shut you down. So I never knew fear. So when I moved away from home and I was out of my comfort zone, I was introduced to something that I never knew. And so fear paralyzed me. And that's what we have to be careful, even as believers, is that fear is the opposite of faith. You know, you fear a lot of things, therefore you can't trust and believe that God is able to do it. So I feared staying in a relationship with, I feared to hear, I told you so. I did not want to hear that. I could have been left. Could have left within the first year because it happened within the first year. No, I remained.
Was it physical or mental?
It was
more?
physical and mental.
Wow.
It was physical and mental.
Okay.
I could have left within the first year. But I didn't want my son to do or to grow up the way I grew up without my father in my life. And so I stayed in something that wasn't healthy for me, and it definitely wasn't healthy for him. And a lot of times, unfortunately, us believers, we remain in situations and relationships because we think it's better for our kids, but actually it's not helping them at all.
It does a disservice to our kids.
It does a disservice because we're teaching them that this is okay. This is okay to live in separate rooms. Because my ex-husband and I didn't sleep in the same bed all the time. So this is okay. So we showed him, along with his brothers, we showed them that this was a lifestyle that was okay. No, it wasn't okay. As a pastor, as a leader, as a first lady. And so I could have left, but I didn't leave. I didn't want to hear, and pride kept me there too. I was prideful. I didn't want to leave what I was comfortable in.
And coming back to Baltimore, to the family, absolutely not. Was not going to happen.
Right.
Oh,
right. I didn't want to give up the glam.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to give up the praise of being somebody's first lady. I didn't want to give that up. So that was pride that kept me there.
Okay.
But again, God has a way of breaking you. He broke me. And it took 7 years for me, 7 to 8 years for me to get to that breaking point, to leave this place of where I was. And during the last episode, I went through everything from moving here to moving there. We had homes in Chicago, Matson, Illinois. We had homes in Florida, all throughout Florida. We had everything, right? We had the churches. We had all those things. And so it took him strangling me and me passing out and being left inside of a hospital, not knowing how I got there. It took that. It took me witnessing and seeing the strangulation marks around my neck with his fingerprints around my neck. It took me seeing 6 to 7 cops surrounded around my bed for me to wake up and say, is the perception of what a first lady or a pastor look like, is this worth your life? And I had to go from there. From there, that was it. It was it. It was my mother and my bishop now, because my bishop was not my bishop back then. He was my friend. I didn't have a phone. My ex-husband took all of my stuff and just dropped me off. I didn't even know I was in a hospital. Just dropped me off in a hospital after he strangled me. It was a ram in a bush that delivered me because I should be dead. Where it happened at, surrounded around alligators, no place. It was a secluded place, nothing but woods, nothing but tall grasses, nothing but water and alligators. So I should be dead. At the time, somebody went jogging. Nobody jogs
With the alligators,
with the alligators and in a secluded area where nobody can see you. So
trees, and darkness.
exactly. So it took the hand of God to have that ram in the bush to jog to frighten him. And I passed out and I woke up inside of a hospital. And when I woke up, because I didn't have no phone, the only number I knew was my bishop's number. Well, now he's my bishop.
Wow.
And from there, he contacted my mother, but from there, I had to stay. All of this was a big transition for me because I had to stay in an abused women's shelter. I didn't know nothing about no abused women's shelter. I didn't know anything about this secluded place of, where nobody can't find you. I didn't know anything about the system and all of that type of stuff. I'm still young, I didn't know any of those things. And so I had to live there, but it was good for me. It was good for me because while I was there at this shelter, the Holy Spirit started ministering to me. And he wasn't ministering to me to make me feel better or whatever. He was ministering to me to open my eyes and say, this is what you're going to do. So I allowed you, because you were disobedient, I allowed you, even in your disobedience, to witness something that I want you to do now. And that is to help those who have been victims of domestic violence. So while I stayed in a shelter, my brain was moving. I mean, it was moving. And I was writing and writing and writing and writing and writing and writing and writing. And I went to the director and she said, well, Miss Purnell at the time, Miss Purnell, you will stay here for about 30 days. I said, man, with all due respect, I will not be here for not even 2 days. I promise you that. Within the next 24 hours, I will be on a plane and I will be back home. I didn't really know anything. I just was speaking. After that, she looked at me and she said to me, well, who are you? And that's the only question I needed her to ask me. I began to explain to her who I was. And then from there, I said, how did you come up with this place? I want to know, how did you find this building? How did you get the funding? What did you do? Because this is what I want. She said, Miss Purnell, but you're here because you're a victim. Not anymore. I need to know, how did you get to this place? Because there are women, and particularly there are first ladies that suffer with the same thing that I've suffered with. And I want a safe haven for them. Show me how you did it.
Wow.
And Lady Yvette Ministries is birth.
Wow.
That is our next project.
Wow. So are we going to do that here in Maryland?
We're going to do this here in Maryland.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Dee Dee
Awesome.
Showell passed away. That was my sister.
Oh
that
my
was
God.
my big sister.
Wow.
Loved her to pieces. When she found out that I was back home, she said to me, she said, girlie, whatever you do, make sure you reach the first ladies in Maryland.
Not just in Maryland, all over.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, that safe haven, like you said, being a volunteer in all the different shelters, ladies, in different shelters, I work with the ladies, and that's my heart and passion, is women and children. Don't get me wrong, I have heart for the men, but anybody will tell you my heart has always been, I worked my sister's place and all those different places. I don't get to volunteer as much as I used to, but those are the places where my heart and passion has always been, is making sure the women and children were okay, to make sure they were safe, to have had several friends who, because I'm hood too. And don't let this look fool you. I'm Rogers in Brycetown and Park Eyes. Girl, Rogers, Brycetown, Park Eyes. Garrison, went to Garrison. So
wow.
oh yeah. So I'm hood chick too. So and I was one of the ones, I'm gonna fight you back, and I might not win.
I never lost the battle.
I'm talking about the man. I'm talking about with a man. With a man.
Oh,
I'm saying I might fight him. I might fight you back.
Call my cousin.
But you're right. That's my whole point. Because like when my ex-husband and I split up, my cousin said, did he put his hands on you? That's all I want to know. And I was like, I think he know y'all crazy, so he wouldn't do that. So, but again, us making safe havens for the women.
Yes.
And that's my whole point, is that we have to continue to help our women. Because of the same exact reason, sometimes we put up with even verbal. That's why I asked, was it verbal or physical? Because they tend to start off with the verbal and graduate into. Now, some people do start off with the physical, but they normally graduate to the physical. And our women feel like they're, like you said, the pride. They feel like they're stuck. They're this, they're that. And I was not in the physical type, but there was always little things said.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were times that they just um they wanted to do what they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it puts you in a different place. And then again, like you said, mine's was the pride of the family. Trying to and because you come from so much divorce, I gotta make this work.
Right.
We gotta make this work.
Everybody in the family is divorced. So
Divorce.
there's a problem with
I
that.
don't want to be that
Yeah,
one.
that's a
So
curse.
I was like, no,
Yes.
no. I was like, I don't want to be like my grandmother. I don't want to be like that,
Right.
because my
Right.
grandfather was on his third wife. So, like, how you think about all those things are the things that was running through your head.
Right.
Then you're looking at your mom's family
Mm-hmm.
and they're still together at the time. Well, when I was going through mine, my grandfather was dead by then. But when you think back when they were together before he died, what should they have been really been together?
A lot of people are married out of convenience.
That's what I said. Do you really think they should have been together?
They marry out
But
of
they were. But they
convenience.
were.
Mhm.
So until he died, and so you deal with that. But then you're dealing with this part of I don't want a divorce. I want to try to make this work. You're trying to fix it. You're trying to do everything you can. And at that time, you're losing you
Mm-hmm.
in that whole process.
And I lost me.
I know.
I
I
lost my
lost me.
self-esteem. I
I
didn't know
lost
who I
me.
was. I was created into a person that, boy, I didn't even know who that person was. He created me to be who he needed at the time during our marriage. And when I got back home, this is how I knew things broke. When I got back home and he tried it, and I rose up, I said, "Well, who in the I'll leave it at that. You talking to?" And he said, "I don't know you. I don't know this person." And that
God
was a
had already
break-in. And I said,
transformed you.
absolutely, you don't know this person. This is the person that you fear. This is the person that you didn't want. This is the person who you actually married, but you broke this person down to make me to be something that you needed because you lacking your own insecurities. Okay, that person is dead. She's dead. She is never to be resurrected.
Mm.
She will stay in the grave.
Mm.
This is who I am. God called me. This is who I am. And I'm going to walk in who he called Yvette Elaine Bannister.
I know that's right. I know that's right. That's it right there.
Wear my great
Wow.
grandmother's name well.
Well. Oh, that is awesome. I'm glad to hear that story. Because I knew there was a story behind the story.
Mhm.
I could feel it. The spirit was telling me there was a story behind the story. And I was just trying to say, okay, Lord, I need you to tell me how to work that into this, because I knew there was something more. I knew there was more to this, because God was putting it in my spirit. He had put it in my spirit once I had even connected with you, that she has a story.
Wow.
She has, and I didn't know what it was. I was reading, I was trying to find things about you, but I couldn't find them. The story is here, y'all. So therefore, those of you who are tuned in, those who will tune in later, there's a story. And I hope that this story will bless you. And I'm looking forward to, the Yvette Bannister Ministries, as it relates to you helping women and making a difference, because we need this.
Mhm.
We need this so much.
Mhm.
And it's not going to be just for Baltimore. It's not going to be just for Maryland. It's going to be for women all over the world
Mhm.
who need to come to a safe haven. Our women need the safe haven, because we find ourselves in these same places, whether it be physical or mental.
Mhm.
We find ourselves in these same places.
Mhm.
So I am so elated to hear. I cannot wait till this is actually launched and ready to go, as it
Me too.
relates
We're
to
excited. We are
to
excited.
this, because the House of Ruth is wonderful. Don't get me wrong, and they've been doing wonderful things over the years. I've volunteered there as
I've worked
well.
with them as well.
Those facilities, but it's so many more
Mhm.
that's needed. So many more women needs to be reached. And as you said, there are first ladies. My one of my best friends went through some very similar situations. Not per se your walk, actually, but there were so many things that went with the the facade and things of that nature, and you're trying to make it work. Hers, I can't even say hers was really, I'm not saying that just the pride thing, but just because you know us women, we just want to try to fix and
We want to
save.
fix it, especially when we become accustomed to a certain person. We want to stay in it. When we're in it, we're in it.
We're in it to win it.
We're
We're
in
trying
it.
to fix it. We're trying to
Yeah,
make it
yeah.
work. You know,
But we're broken.
right?
We're
But
broken. We're hurting inside. We're not happy inside. We're watching our husband, what is to be married to somebody to have their name, but their heart is somewhere else. And so I've been there. I was the first lady, but I wasn't the only lady.
mm,
And so
mm,
it's good to hear, oh, we thank God for first lady. I don't get excited about that when you're in a relationship with an individual who, while you may be labeled as first lady, you're not the only lady. And you know you're not the only lady. That's not a good feeling. And there's a many of women that's out there that are suffering in that place. And a lot of first ladies that I even know here in Baltimore, who have these prominent men of God that everybody look up to and well known. And we're not here, definitely not here to expose anybody. I don't even want to know who you're married to. That's how much of a safe place I'm creating. I don't need to know who you're married to. I don't need to know who you are, what church you're affiliated with. I just want to help you. That's it. And since I've actually launched this, because we were doing counseling and things of that sort and speaking with individuals, believe it or not, I received more male victims than I've received females.
Actually, one of my guests that I just had is a friend of mine, and I'm definitely going to connect you guys.
Yes.
Only because he was abused. And he just came out with his book called The Forbidden Treasure, I want to say it is. And he's a good friend of mine. And when I tell you, Yvette, you hear his story, oh my God.
Wow. Please.
He was abused.
I've
was the
gotten more
one.
men. I've received more men than I've received with women.
And that's why I said this thing gonna be more than you think. I was gonna talk to you about that off air, but since you brought in the men part, I'm gonna go ahead and go all the way with it. Yes, Troy R. Jones is his name, and his book is Forbidden Treasure. And when I tell you, Yvette, it was like when I met him actually at a domestic violence event. And we just, God connected us, and we've been doing business and all kinds of stuff ever since. And when he just finished his book, because he's a co-author in another book, but when he finished his book, girl, oh my God, just reading the book, he made the publisher, one of the editors, mad behind that book.
Wow.
Yeah. Because, of course, we don't see men as being
victims,
abused.
yeah.
But I've seen it a lot over the years. I've seen it a lot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And so
and they don't tell.
They don't
tell.
Want to
Because ruin their macho.
There you go. That
like
pride, that macho-ness, all of
they
that.
Won't say anything. They'll deal with it in silence. They
Mhm.
will.
And
will.
and it kills them.
It does.
Because then when they finally get out, and you meet someone who is nothing like it, and you know that, but you on such a defense. And not saying just men, but women too.
But that's what I wrote, even also in my book. That's what I wrote in my book. I talked about saying no to me. And one of the things that the Lord showed me, was so crazy. I was on the phone with an individual in whom I love very dearly. I was on the phone with this person, and my heart is there for this person. And as I'm talking to them, as I'm talking to him, the Spirit of the Lord begins to speak to me while I'm in a conversation with him. And I get quiet, and he asks me what's wrong. I said, the Lord just called me an abuser. And he said, what? I said, the Lord just called me abuser. And tears started rolling out of my face. This was maybe 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. You know how you had those boo talks? I was having a boo talk. And the Lord called me an abuser. And I said, Lord, how am I an abuser? I've never put my hand on a man except for if I was defending myself. But I've never just up and just did anything like that. And he said, what you've been through, you've picked up. And sometimes when you go through life challenges, different roads that you walk in, you begin to pick up along the side the different attributes and characters within that perimeter of that section of your life. And I began to pick up an abusive behavior because I was abused. And so my words were very piercing. My words were very striking. My words were very disrespectful. Now, I am not a disrespectful individual. I love everybody, even the ones that hate me. I still love you. I would do anything. I'll give you the clothes off of my back. That's the type of person that I am. But I became something because of what I was in that I never knew. And a lot of times we trying to figure out what the helicopter is going on with us. Why are we behaving certain ways? Why are we doing this? And it's because of what we've picked up along the side in our journey. And in my journey of being a person that was abused, I picked up the spirit of an abuser. And so while I may not have hit you, I cut you. I cut you real good. And that's what and it wasn't until God spoke to me like that, that I began to break and begin to evaluate myself. And then that's when this book came.
Wow.
Lord, save me from me. I was trying to figure out in my life, why is it that I could not hold on to relationships? Prominent relationships. Why was I destroying these relationships? Something that I myself have adopted. I adopted these behaviors. I adopted this mindset, and I became something that God never intended for me to become. And a lot of times we want to know why we do what we do. And it's because we've picked up these things. We picked up these behaviors and characteristics and mindsets that now we need God to deliver us from. And this is why my prayer is always, Lord, deliver me from the stench of my past. I don't want to carry what I was in. Let my past be just that, my past. I don't want to carry the characteristics and the traits and the mindset of my past into my future. I don't want to do that. And that's what I did. And the Lord spoke to me and said, you will not be able to be the wife that he needs until you get this off of you. So now I'm calling you into a fast. I'm going to show Yvette, Lord, save me from me before I self-destruct. You want to be married? You want to have this? You want to have that? Let's deal with you. Let's stop blaming everybody else and let's deal with you. And I talk about stop having that blame game. All you doing is prolonging your deliverance by blame. It was this person's fault. My daddy left me. My that. Okay, get over it. We all have had some type of trial in our life, some type of hurt, some type of pain. Somebody have done us wrong. Somebody has violated us. We all have experienced it. Will you continue to allow this thing to paralyze you to where you can't move forward in the things of God?
Wow. That's powerful. And that's so true. So true. And that's kind of like what I did. Actually, when the divorce was final, I went on a 3-year by yourself. I didn't plan on it being 3 years. Just let's be clear. I did not plan on it being 3 years. My plan was, I'm just going to stay by myself for a little while. And my little while was looking maybe 6 months to a year, maybe. But it was 3 years. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to deal with any of that. One of my homeboys that I grew up in church with, he constantly would, especially in that first year, he was like, come on, we going out. We just going to Fridays. We going to do this, those kind of things, just to hang out and things like that. Because he was like, I don't want you to get bitter and this. And I wasn't in a bitter place. And that's what I don't think he could understand. I just was in a place that I had to make some changes in who Angela was. Because there were some things that Angela, and of course, as you say, you get on the defense, you became, per se, I guess you could say, an abuser with the things that you said, but it wasn't like you were intending to be that way.
Right.
You was not planned, like I'm planning to go out here and be, mean to people and be abusive. Now you got some people out here who actually do that, but sometimes I just believe because of how things are evolving around us, that's where we find ourselves. And so hearing you say that, it's so important for others to know that what you're saying is your walk, but it was also a way for you to help somebody else who may not even recognize for themselves that they are in that place. And so, hearing you for me was confirmation. When I took that 3-year break, it really helped me. It really healed me in so many ways. And so hearing your story is just like, wow, okay. I mean, I don't know what your method was other than what the things that you had to go through and deal
I
with.
dated. I tried to smother myself with men.
Okay. I think I did that prior to the 3-year journey. Because see, like, we separated in what, 08, but the divorce was not final till 2010. So in 08 to like 2010, I was dating. I was, and I would probably say the same thing. I was smothering myself, and then I cut it all off.
Yeah, me too. And while a lot of times, because you were married, you think that you're ready to be married, although you're out of the relationship. And no, you're not. You're not ready to be married just because, especially when you just got out of one. You need the time to heal. I didn't want to
Absolutely.
heal. I wanted to smother myself.
Oh, okay.
In a relationship, in different relationships, and these guys were great men. They just wasn't your vet man. It was not to take away from them at all, but they wasn't qualified to carry the anointing that's on my life, and it's okay. I allowed them to be in my space because I never wanted to deal with Yvette. It wasn't until my breaking point, and I said to myself, and it's also when I turned 40, something like hit me. Like I had all of a sudden had this epiphany. It's like, okay, you can't do what you did 10 years ago because you're not at that place anymore. It's a sense of maturity that came along.
Oh,
And
yes,
so-
honey. 40. Oh my God.
Yeah,
40
it make
will
you grow
teach you
up.
some stuff.
Yeah, it definitely makes you grow up. I can honestly say, and of course, I'm grateful to God for allowing me to even be here, because I should be dead in many cases. But I smothered myself with men trying to, just get them to be in my space because I did not want to deal with Yvette and I did not want to be alone. And it wasn't until actually recently that I heard something from a wonderful woman of God, Dr. Cindy Trim. I love her so much.
Love Cindy.
And she said something that changed my life even now. And she said, loneliness is not the absence of being is not the absence of people, but loneliness is an absence of purpose. You must know what you've been called to. And a lot of times you can go, even as a pastor, as a preacher, you can go and you can start flowing from the gift, not necessarily being anointed, but you can flow from the gift because the more you do it, the more you perfect your gift. But of course, it's the anointing that perfects the person. And so a lot of times as individuals, as leaders, as preachers and things of that sort, when you're going through behind closed doors, because you have your craft and you have perfected your craft, you can work your craft, but then at behind closed doors, you yourself is messed up. And so it wasn't until I sat by myself and evaluated my life and said, this is where you are, Yvette. Where do you want to go now? Are you going to stay in this place? Are you going to die here? Are you going to continue to let people invade your space that you don't want to be with? Are you going to continue to keep allowing people to invade your space that you know you are not compatible with? Or are you going to sit your hind self still and allow God to break you? And it wasn't until I allowed God to begin to break Yvette, and he showed me, because people go on fast, and I mean, I can't stand these people that go on these fasts and pray and they see everybody else but never see themselves. If you're fasting and you're seeing everybody else, you're on the wrong fast. You need to go back to fasting. You need to see yourself in the fast. So I seen me. I seen what people don't see. Put the MAC makeup on, you got the hair going on, your nails is done, you got the eyelashes on, you got your 6-inch heels on, you looking good, you looking fly. I seen Yvette outside of the makeup.
All of it stripped down. All of it stripped down.
All of the makeup gone, eyelashes off, weave out. Well, I cut my hair. So I've seen all of me, and I didn't like it. I did not like that person. I did not like the person who I became. I didn't like the person who I covered up. I did not like that person. And when I let that person, I gave a benediction to Yvette. I let Yvette go and I told her, bye-bye. You will not destruct your life. God has invested too much in you for you to destruct your own life. You can't blame nobody for this situation. You got to take ownership. You've allowed it. You did it. Get the hell over it
Mm-hmm.
and let's move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I opened myself up and allow all of your vet to be exposed to God, because we hide ourselves from God. I don't understand. I never
I don't know how
understand
we think we can hide
why
from
we
him.
hide ourselves from God, like He don't know your breath stink. He knows it. He knows the numbers of hair that's upon your
Girl.
head. He knows it, and you can be bald headed. He still knows what's going to grow out your scalp. He's God. So it wasn't until I let that person go that I discovered this amazing woman that no man can break. I love this place that I'm in. Love it.
Yes, I love the place that I'm in right
Love
now
this place that
myself.
I'm in.
I did myself a disservice in allowing myself to not find myself at one point. And then when I did find myself, because you just go with life, you just keep working on, you keep, you feel like everything is good, you feel like you got it, you feel like it, you think you got it all together. And at the end of the day, you really don't have it all together. You really don't have it all together. You still got to work on some things, Angela. And the place he has me in now, I'm just loving it. I'm enjoying it. And I thank God for him doing what he's doing. And didn't like how some of the processes went.
Right. Right.
Because, I would have chose differently. I would have chose to be
You
a
ever had
little
that
bit.
conversation like, I wish I could get, if I can go back to when I was 19.
If I could change there were some things that I do appreciate, because it really helped me be who I am today. So even if I could go back to 19, if I could go back to 25 and 30 and on, if I could go back to those ages, would I be this woman? Would I be the faith walker that I am? Would he put me to the test that I'm in, that he's, doing the things that he's challenging me?
If you can take that, if you can take the mindset that you have now and go back to age 19,
To be something different, right? But we ain't had that, girl. We ain't had that at 19. Lord, no. And I was smart, and I just knew I knew a lot more. But there are times that he has to let you see that. Nah.
This walk with God is a journey, and it's beautiful.
Oh my
All of the
God.
bumps and the rumps and the pitfalls and the mistakes and the bad decisions. Man, when you are in love with God, and you for real in love with him. I'm not talking about no play stuff, but you are in love with God and he orchestrating your life. David said, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death,
I will fear none.
Right. He will allow you to walk even in the shadow of stuff that will seem like it's going to simply destroy you. This journey of life with God is, I can now appreciate it
So
where I
much
am
more.
now.
Oh my
I
goodness.
can appreciate it where I am
I'm
right
so
now in life.
appreciative.
He is an amazing God that took
A wretched soul like us.
Yes,
and
Paul said, "Oh wretched man
shaped
that I am, who shall deliver me
and
from this
shaped
body?"
and molded us, as that song say.
Yes.
Shape me and mold me. Clean me up. Another song, and clean me up. Give me a clean heart.
It only
That I can serve you. That I might give me a clean heart. That I might serve you. That's where he has me in a place. And I made a bad decision of over a year ago, and I know that he's forgiven me because of what he's doing. Like, I felt so guilty, shamed. And then he put me in this place that I'm going to show you. And he's shown me, and
He
he's
told
doing.
the prophet, he said, tell my people Israel, he said, I'm going to make their crooked places straight.
That's what the word say. That's the word.
So although your place may be crooked in your life right now, he's a God that's able to take that crooked place and make it become straight. You just have to believe
Absolutely
in him, and you have to be committed to him. And I think that's
some of us can be committed though, but sometimes we can be committed, but how the body, the mind, the all of that can get you distracted. The health, the different things can distract us. Not to say that we're not committed to him, because I'm reading the word every day. I don't miss that. I read the word every day. I pray every day, a couple times a day, you know. But sometimes we just get in a place that, you know, we gotta understand that God is doing some things, as you know, like you said, we can't blame everything on the devil. He wants to see how you handle that process.
But you know what? When you are when there's a certain level of commitment.
Mm-hmm.
There's different levels of commitment. We can read the word of God, but then still not necessarily be committed to the word of God.
Absolutely.
Paul said this. He said, stand fast there. He said, stand fast, therefore, in the liberty whereby Christ hath made you free, which means this. He said, stand fast, which means to keep your eyes focused on God. So if you're focused on him, you won't allow distractions to come. It's when we have,
or you can see when the distractions are come.
but you're not moved by
You're my there you go.
And-
And sometimes that's where we miss it, because
That's the level.
that's the place that you miss
Right.
it, because you took your focus off of him. You're reading the word, you're doing all this, but you took your focus off of him. So therefore that distraction came in, and it didn't come as a distraction. It came as if you thought this was a God sent thing, but really it was a distraction. You thought it was God sent because the way it came,
Right.
and the way it was orchestrated, the way it was happening, you thought it was God sent. But really, it was a distraction that God probably, I believe God sent the distraction, and then it refocused you into the place that you're in now. Because now you seeing all the distractions again, because you used to could see the distractions, but then, and you could see them coming. But that distraction came as like a God sent distraction. Like you didn't know it was God sent, but it was a distraction that you didn't know it was a distraction. It was like, okay, I think this is of God. You know, I was just like, wow. But the refocusing, like that's where the focus is on him now.
You have to focus on God. The Bible says that Enoch pleased God because he believed in God. He had faith in God. He walked with him. A lot of times we walk with God, but when we walk with God, we're separated from him while we're still walking. He's on one side of the street, you're on the other side of the street, and you're trying to figure out why you can't get together with him. And it's because of the fact that you have allowed the in-between stages to literally distract you from what it is that God wants you to do. Because, and I teach the church this all the time, we have this I'm grown syndrome. I don't know what this is and where we get this, where we adopted this syndrome from, but we have this I'm grown syndrome. And because I'm grown, I'm over the age of 18, I'm over the age of 21. The society say you're grown, you're able to do this, you can drink alcohol, you can do this. No, you're not grown. Mentally, you're not grown. You may be grown physically. Your body may say that you're grown, but mentally, 2 years ago, you was just 17 or 16 or just 20 or 19. You're still stupid. It's as simple as that. So we trying to figure out why is it that we're not where we are, and it's because of, again, it's our level of commitment. I stand on this. You have to be committed to God, where you trust God even when you can't trace what he's doing.
Absolutely.
You have to say, okay, God, this may hurt me. I'm really feeling this pain, but at the same time, because you're God and you've been here before, you wrote this book, I'm going to go ahead and allow my life, or allow me to walk in this page. I don't like this chapter that you have me in, but I'm going to keep walking through these pages until I get to the next chapter, because my trust is in you. Some trust in chariots, some trust in horses, but I shall trust in the name of the Lord, for it's his name that carries me on. When we are committed to him and the name, then we'll begin to see our life change. Things will become better for us. Things won't get us offhand anymore. It won't bother us. It's a lot of things that, man, if you would have caught me 5 years ago, I would have probably had your neck. That now I look at it like, my God, Lord, please just bless them.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's like, who's saying it's a whole new world? Isn't a cartoon or something? It's a whole new world. It's a whole new world when you go to that place of commitment with God.
Absolutely.
When you get to that
and
place,
sometimes you've been to that place, but then you find yourself in another place, and then you have to find yourself recommitting yourself on a whole nother level with him. And then when you do that, then you're like, okay. And that's where I am. It's like it's on a whole nother level. A whole nother level. And I thank him.
Yeah.
I thank him, because even in spite of that moment a year ago, in spite of that moment, I thank him, because it was definitely some lessons taught. And I pray that he does not allow me to have to revisit those lessons again, because it was definitely learned. And so I just want to thank you, lady. I want to thank you. I want to thank you. I want to thank you. This has been fun. It has been totally enjoyable. Please tell everybody where they can get your book, how they can get you to come as a preacher, if you're taking engagements outside, if you're doing a book tour, all those things. Give the information how they can connect with you. I want to definitely stay connected in reference to you moving forward with the whole ladies, the shelter and all of that you're going to be coming with the event ministries in reference to helping our women, because that is so important to our community.
You can find me anywhere. If you Google Yvette Bannister, I'll pop up.
Okay.
I'm everywhere. Lady Yvette, all you have to do is type in Lady Yvette Bannister and you'll
Okay.
find me on Twitter. You'll find me on Instagram. You'll find me on Facebook. You'll find my webpage. You'll find everything. Webpage is www.lyministries, love Yvette ministries.net. Um, all of my information is all over social media. I am an open book, so you can find me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. We want to thank you so much for coming on the Worldwide Flavor Network on the Baltimore Flavor Gospel Show. I am just so elated that she was able to take time out of her schedule and be able to share with us. I hope that this message today you will share it with someone, and that you can be a blessing to someone just because of her message, because we know there's always a story behind the story, and we've heard the story behind the story behind the story. And we hope that this message was a blessing to you. This conversation was a blessing to you. Please follow us on all our social media. We are now streaming live on YouTube. This week was our breakthrough on that. So we had that happen. And so we ask that you will continue to follow us on all of our social media. And we are live. So if you are interested in having your own radio show, please contact us. Look at us up on our website, as well as you can contact me directly. And so I greatly appreciate you all tuning in on today. And be sure to tune in with us on next Sunday for the Baltimore Flavor Gospel Show. I love you, but know that God loves you better than I ever could. Have a blessed and wonderful week. Join the rest of our shows all week long. Have a great day.